Here we go.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Wisdom to Win podcast. I am your host, your girl, Ray J. And today, I have not one, but two people with me today to talk about it. Yes, see, Julie is my alter ego. She feels the vibe of
That's
me.
right.
See
That's
how it
right.
goes. I love it. Janice is more like, get it together, people.
I'm very analytical. Comes from
I know you're green.
doing
I
20.
know.
It's
I
called
know.
in 20 minutes. I have to assess something and boom, come up with a plan. So
I don't know if you can tell, but these are green colored just for you.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
oh,
that green personality. So, welcome to the Wisdom to Win podcast. Ladies, how are you?
I'm
you.
doing
So,
great.
I
How about
have
yourself?
Julie and Janice with me. Let me tell you a little bit about these people here that I mean, clutter is everywhere. And if you ever wanted to know more about how to get rid of it, these two queens of decluttering are the ones you need to seek. They are the coaches at ABC Declutter. I love that. ABC Declutter with JJ LLC. And they are also the host, each of them, host, co-host, co-host, co-host. They host the podcast, JJ Declutter Podcast. Ladies, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you being here. Let's get started and jump right in. Why? Why, out of all the things that you thought was needing to have some attention, why clutter? What is it about clutter and decluttering that makes a difference in your life? I'll start with Janice.
Well, I dealt with clutter for, geez, when you have a lot of room, you keep a lot of stuff. And what I discovered was I didn't know I had clutter until I moved everything into my first condo. And that was like at the age of 29, 30,
Oh,
because I was in school. So when you're in school, you don't have everything. You're living out of apartments and things like that. And when I finally got my first abode,
mm-hmm.
I filled up, a 2-bedroom condo. And it was like, oh, wow. And then I met my husband and we filled up his townhouse and then some. So we moved into a huge house and all our clutter came with us.
Wow. So you didn't
So
declutter before you moved, or you thought you did?
no, we just moved everything. I
Okay.
mean, we moved when we combined households, we moved things into a storage unit like a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we got the big house, we said we're not paying for a storage unit anymore. Everything's coming with us. And I had just had a baby and the house was late. So we thought we were getting in March and we didn't get in until July. And so everything got all messed up. So everything came. I was hoping to get rid of stuff,
Yeah.
nest and all that stuff before the baby came. Didn't happen that way.
Didn't
So life
happen.
happens and you deal with it, and everything got stacked in the garage or up in the attic, and then everything moved down, and we just kind of, that was life for a while between two small kids and two full-time working adults.
Mm-hmm. Life is lifing at that point,
Hmm.
for real, like in overdrive. Julie, same
Yeah.
question. Why? What
Well,
made you go this route with declutter?
I've always been a maximalist. Um, I like my stuff around me. Um, and I didn't realize until 2020
Mhm.
that why I cluttered in the first place.
Okay.
And so once I realized, whoa, this is why I'm cluttering, I was able to let go of things, and I cut toxic people out of my life, And at that point, I didn't have to hang on to things to keep them mine. Nobody's going to take this from me. Nobody's going to steal that from me. And that I lived my whole life that way. So it was, very illuminating to me to figure out the why. I never had figured that out. I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and so my elder siblings were more trained at cleaning and clutter and all that kind of stuff. And they just thought, as I always, they thought I was learning through osmosis, I think, and it didn't take. Um, so my sister and I used to share a bedroom, and there was literally the tape down the middle of the room, and hers was like neat as a pin, and mine was like a bomb went off. And I mean, it was just hilarious, but I kept it on my side of the tape. And but once I realized why I cluttered, then I was able to let go of a lot of things. I still have too much. I'm sure of it. I have too much, but I like artwork. I like it around me. I like lots of color, and I like it out and around me. And my house will probably look more cluttered to other people because, like for me in my kitchen, my utensils are in crocks. So they're out on the counter where I can grab them. And I people go, oh, you should, clear off your counters and put those in a drawer. Well, we have a very small house and there's not that many drawers, and I like kitchen utensils, so I have to have them out where I can see them. They make me happy. And
Okay. So you would say that maybe you have, I guess you could say, organized chaos? Or would you even still say it's chaos?
it's better than that. It's better than that now.
Mhm.
And we're still, it's an evolution. I mean, it's only been about 5 years since I really got serious about this and
Mhm.
joined a group online and met Janis,
I
and
was
the
just
two
about
of
to
us,
ask that question. How did you
yeah,
come
we
together?
decided that we could do better. And so
So listen,
uh,
you met online in what was it, a group for
for
decluttering? Or was
decluttering,
it
yeah.
okay, okay. And Janice, I was looking at your information. You're an optometrist?
Yes, I'm an eye doctor. I fit people. I come up with prescriptions for glasses, for contacts, send people to get cataracts taken out. I used to do training for train people for vision therapy. Um, so I had extensive background in children's vision, and then I left. So I worked at the College of Optometry. Well, actually, I worked at two, and then I said I need to get out in the real world, and so then I went out into the real world, and I became a regular optometrist, and I've been doing that for over 35 years.
Okay, you taking new patients? Anyway, that's another conversation. We'll have
Now she's teaching people how to get over clutter
yeah,
blindness. So
Yes.
exactly. But
Yep.
okay, and again, are you taking new patients? So well, I love the way that came about, the way you phrased that. Even when you sent me your information, Janice, you were talking about giving people the vision, almost like to
Yes.
get organized, to clear that out. Now, both of you guys know that my audience is primarily those women that maybe 50 plus that
Mhm,
have gone through divorce.
mhm.
So, or maybe even going through it right now as they're watching this podcast here and listening to this podcast. Um, why does decluttering, do you think, become so much more important for women of divorce? Have you seen that it is problematic with those women going through divorce, the cluttering, or is it something that just kind of automatically happens when the division of things take place?
the division of things is big, and it is, there's little tips and hints for people that are going through divorce, excuse me, don't declutter when you are angry. That's not a good time to make those decisions.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You want to go get your anger out and then do your decluttering rather than having all that anger inside, because you're making decisions that are based on an anger emotion, and that's
Mm.
going to hang on to you, and you don't want that. It just is
Wow.
really easier if you can, let go of some of that.
Never associate that, because it's funny that you say that. When I was married, if I got upset, even now, if I get angry about something, sometimes I'm like a 2-year-old. I gotta take a nap or something.
Okay.
But if I don't sleep, I clean.
Yeah, that's
And
common.
I never really paid attention to how I'm putting that emotion into what I'm
Yes,
doing.
you're
It's
putting
just
the
like
emotion and
giving it an
energy.
energy. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
it's like just a
Right.
transference of that energy into something I guess is productive. So I never thought about not decluttering.
Now,
And
cleaning is different than decluttering, because
yeah, but
Right.
decluttering is
yeah.
removing things.
Right.
Right.
Cleaning
Yeah.
is removing dirt and grime.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Decluttering is removing items. So there is a difference. And it's interesting because your physical space oftentimes reflects your emotional space. So if there are a lot of things in your physical space that remind you of the person or the situation,
Mm-hmm.
then it's going to automatically get those emotions up again. So sometimes it's good not to get rid of them, but at least to remove them from your vision and put them in a box and
Mm.
then come back and revisit it.
Right.
Because sometimes you say, well, I don't want this anymore, and it's something that is expensive or you could give to somebody else, and rather
Mm-hmm.
than just throwing it in the trash, stick it in the box until you're
Right.
ready and you're calmer to deal with it.
Right. Right.
Wow. That's a revelation. Just to know that when you're cleaning, when you're angry, is getting rid of grime or dirt or, you know,
And that feels good.
that
People
does
That
people
feel
does
do
feel
good.
like
good.
to that is a good way to process through anger, is,
Yeah,
get something productive out of it.
get something productive, but decluttering is different because then you may end up setting yourself up for resentment, huh? Because
Exactly. And
you,
and if they are things that are triggering for you, they need to leave. And so that can also help. So the first thing that I would say is just get a couple boxes or whatever and put the things in it that don't
Yeah,
belong. It's
definitely
your
leaving.
ex-partners. Put
Yeah.
them in there and then tell them the box is here, get it, or it goes to the garbage, whatever, however you want to deal with that.
mm-hmm,
Um, but it really helps to get those things out, because
Yeah.
then you get to make it your space, and getting those things removed
mm-hmm,
toward at the beginning really is more helpful, more healing for you to be able to work through your home and make it your space and make it
Yep.
your sanctuary and get those feelings out.
now, what
And the
about when you
things
have that? Oh, go ahead, Janice. What were you gonna
and
say?
the things that often carry those emotional weights
Yes.
are things like pictures, clothes, and gifts.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Pictures, clothes. Now, whose clothes? Your clothes or clothes you gave to him or he gave to you or however your situation
It
is.
could be either.
Okay, it could be
Yeah.
either. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you went out and you had, you got this really nice dress and all it reminds you of is the good times, well, that's not a bad thing to keep if it
Yeah.
reminds you of the good times.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was a dress where you went out and he did something that you hated, and now all you look at it and you feel filled with disappointment, then that would be the dress that you should gift or donate to someplace.
Okay. All right.
Just don't hang on to the bad memories. Hang
Right.
on to a
Right.
couple of the good memories, but get rid of the other ones.
Have you guys experienced hoarding or hoarders, I should say, because you're in that space of decluttering? And what is that like when you maybe have come across someone that is a hoarder? What emotional baggage, if you will, are they also harboring that's tied to the stuff?
Well, we're not qualified to work with like wet hoarders. Those are the ones that have the bugs, feces, animals, all that
Okay.
stuff. And that needs mental help that
Okay.
we are not ready to provide.
Thank you for
We have,
clarifying that. Okay.
yeah, and then we do have a few clients that one of them is it's close, it's hoarding, but it is not it's not wet hoarding. With this person, they have they gave up something years ago, and so giving up that addiction has been
Mhm.
replaced with
Yeah.
shopping.
Oh,
And
I
so
think
for a
it's
while
a
that's been,
transference. They
okay.
yeah,
transfer their whatever it is that they feel uncomfortable about to a different, like, people who are addictive are become addicted to different things. I mean, you can be addicted to drugs or booze. And then when you stop doing that, you can get addicted to eating, or you can get addicted to shopping. And there are different things that can create more clutter. I mean, if you're always
Mhm.
buying stuff, you
yeah,
bringing it home, and things start to pile up.
Okay.
So, um, or if you felt, if you, it's interesting because it's not necessarily this generation, but like the generation above us, like people who are in their 70s and 80s, they have a lot of issues with, um, I think, food in terms of scarcity.
Okay.
So they tend to have pantries that are very, very full.
yeah,
Mm.
And
yeah,
even if the stuff is expired, it's still there.
yeah,
And I've
yeah.
I've heard, I mean, my parents kept all sorts of weird stuff in their house, and my husband's grandparents kept really odd stuff. But again, they grew up during the Depression. So they
Mhm.
grew up in a time of scarcity. We're well, not yet. We're not in a situation where things are scarce.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but it's just like during the pandemic. People started to buy things that they wouldn't necessarily have bought just because they saw it.
Mhm. Mhm. Like the
So,
toilet tissue and the paper towels
mhm.
and
And spam.
alcohol
Oh my
and
gosh.
Hey,
During
I love
COVID,
spam.
we sold so much spam. I worked in a grocery store at the
Are
time.
you serious?
So much spam.
Wow.
It was
Teriyaki
hilarious.
spam is awesome. You
The
just have to
gourmet food of
fry
the
it.
apocalypse is spam. Okay, I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of set the stage on some of the, I guess you could say, things that may occur with a accumulation of stuff. But there are steps. There's a systematic way that you guys go through decluttering. How do you start that process? Let me start with Janice on this question. What is let's say, I guess, the first three steps that's very important in starting that decluttering process?
Okay, start small. So, have a timer
Okay.
and just do it. So, we
Mhm.
recommend that you pick a space. You
A
set a timer
drawer,
for,
a shelf.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Set
So
a
small
timer
would
for
be like a drawer, right?
yes, a drawer, a shelf, a pile
Like,
of papers,
right.
um, uh,
Like a
you know,
foot or two
the
of the counters.
yeah,
Don't do the
and
whole counter. Just do a foot at a time.
Okay.
set your timer for 12
Hmm.
minutes
Okay.
and get started, and you're going to, if you're sorting the area, if it has a lot of stuff, you need a trash bag, you need a keep bag, you need a donate bag, and you need something to put your sentimental items in, because you may not want to spend the time, because it's easy to get distracted. And we want you to sort through things and categorize them so you can finish,
Okay.
rather than sit.
I
I
know
mean, a
that's
lot of
hard.
people, a lot of people will sit there and they go, "Oh yeah, I remember this,"
Yeah, that's
and then
hard.
you get distracted. So if you're on a timer, you can do it quickly and move on.
And so I
It
guess
helps you, and it helps you stay
it
focused,
helps you stay
having that
focused. So
timer.
decluttering loves speed then. It should,
Well,
Yeah,
we
I
in
do,
some instances.
yes.
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
can
If you
easily see,
don't do small doable doses, you
yeah,
can get things done in a short amount of time, and then you have the win, and that makes you feel good, and then it
yeah,
encourages you to do more, rather
yeah,
than taking everything out of the closet, and then you're in the necessary middle where everything's blown up and you've got pile here and pile there, and then you're tired and you don't want to finish. So then all goes back, and then you're like, what did I get done? Well, at least if you take, so rather than doing the whole closet, take just the shirts out and go through those and donate things and throw things out and keep things or gift things. And then if you're tired, you stop, and then you revisit it tomorrow and do the pants. Right? So we definitely recommend that you pace yourself,
hmm,
because the main reason people stop decluttering and cleaning is because they get tired, they wear themselves out, and then either you do too much and you get sick, and so then of course you're not going to do it, or you just stop because you created more of a mess.
yeah. So you get tired, and you also probably experience overwhelm.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you just do nothing, and
Mm-hmm.
it stays there.
Mhm.
Growing up, I had a lot of friends that had dining rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't have a
Nobody, yeah.
dining room. So it was the living room and the kitchen kind of thing. But
Yeah.
the dining room, when they had that, I thought that was just so fantastic that they had a space just to sit and eat. But what I noticed with a lot of them is that the dining room table was full of stuff.
Yep.
Mail, magazines,
Yep.
even
Yep.
uniforms, like if we were Girl Scouts or cheerleaders or whatever, their pom-poms were on the table. What is it with the dining room collection?
Because it's a nice big flat surface. So you
Yep.
use it.
I just never got that part of that part. But I like what you're saying, Janice, is the small. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you see stuff on television and they're like organizing, like I love organizing shows, but it seems like they have this common theme running through them, that you take everything out of the space and then go through it and then put it back neatly. I like your approach, that you
So,
start small in the space that you're in, and then
Yes.
you can feel some sense of gratitude, because they all say, "Oh, I'm tired. I quit. I give up. I don't feel like we made a dent at all." And all this stuff is coming out, right? And I'm like, was that supposed to be said? Or,
so if you have a lot of stuff, though, you do need to do some sorting, and you should be keeping things, organizing things like with like, because that gives you an idea of how much you actually have. So
mm,
then you can get rid of duplicates if you don't need them. But
mm-hmm,
until you know what you have, the it's natural for you to feel like, I have to keep this because I use this. But then you find out you've got 20 Scotch tape dispensers, and you don't need 20 unless you wrap gifts all the time or for your business or something.
mm-hmm.
So there's there is value in them taking everything out, because they're doing an inventory for you, so you can
Ah,
make a
okay.
decision on what you want to keep, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to do it all at one time. if you store things in an organized manner and you label containers that said, okay, so this is where all of my, I don't know, all my gift wrapping stuff goes. So I need scissors, I need tape, I need ribbon, I need all these things in it. And every time you come across something, you go, oh, I have to put this away. So you put it in the one central box. And so when you go and you look at that and you revisit that box, you can go, well, I don't need this much tape. So maybe I should donate some to the school or to the church, that type of a thing. So you can start letting go of the clutter and not go out and not only that, but it's organized so you can actually find it when you want to use it and you don't have to go buy it.
Right. It sounds like being able to declutter is so freeing. It gives you this feeling of freedom, especially if you felt bogged down or weighed down by the stress and the pressure of what you may have gone through. Divorcing especially is very, very heavy. And like you were saying, those sentimental things, because you built a whole life with somebody. And every little bitty thing, especially when you start having children and you've got all these children things. So it's hard for parents, I think, especially more so for moms, because I kind of learned, I told my boys I had their stuff separated and all of the crafts that they've done, like grade 1 and 2 and all of that. I tried my best to keep the better of them. Do you know when you may want to show your children what you've done. And they looked at me like I had 3 heads, like, you still got that? So
That's what we did.
it's more
We
for
took
us than it is for
pictures.
the kids. So
It
stop
is.
holding on to that stuff for your kids, right?
Yeah. And we
Um,
had a very delightful day going through that. My
yeah.
husband and I were going through, doom boxes, didn't organize, only move, just shove stuff in. Well, we had a bunch of stuff.
Wait a minute, you slid that in real quick, Julia.
Oh, doom, doom boxes.
Boom
Didn't,
boxes.
yes,
Tell
didn't
me what that
organize, only
acronym is
moved.
again.
Didn't organize, only moved. So it's a doom box.
And you're doomed to keep that stuff if you do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's disorganized and you don't know what's in it. And so you just keep shoving it back there because you don't want to deal with it.
Wow. I
So,
like
but
that.
we
I like
we
that. Did y'all
opened
hear
up
that?
one with a bunch of our kids' stuff in it, and we spent a Saturday, God, probably 4 hours. We would take pictures of the stuff and text it to our kids. Remember this? Do you want this? They didn't want any of this stuff, but we had such a hilarious afternoon remembering stories and trading all this stuff back and forth. And we ended up, I think we may have saved like 2 items just because we love them. But the kids were just like, why do you have that? So
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Now, Janice, you have two adult children, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you go through that same thing that Julie and I went through with their stuff?
I kept a lot of their stuff up in the attic and they would look at it periodically. And then when I started getting rid of stuff, I put them, the big bags that quilts come in. I
Yeah,
started
yeah.
just shoving all their stuff into that. And I said to them, this is your stuff. Put it in your room. Because I was tired of being the keeper of their memories.
Right.
And I said, what you don't want to keep, do whatever you want with these things. But I can barely keep my own memories because, I kept stuff from high school. I kept stuff from college. And as I got older, well, as I got smarter over the past couple of years and started decluttering, I realized I don't need all these pictures. I don't need all these things. The memories are up here, and my kids don't care what sorority I was in and what we did for, for pledge week and all this other stuff. There are a couple of cute pictures of me dressed up as a unicorn, but they don't know the
And
significance of
you
that.
are, Janice, you are a unicorn.
I had a horn and we had big pink big red cheeks, and we had big long eyelashes. We were really cute, but that's beside the point.
And that memory will be forever in this podcast.
With a purple mane.
That's right. Get it all in there. Get it all.
Yeah.
Janice, you have something called the Fly Lady method. What is that?
Well, the Fly Lady method is, there was a lady who was known as the Fly Lady, and she came out in the early 2000s, and she was real popular for a while. I haven't heard a lot about her, but it was a schedule of things to do, and she had gone through divorce. She had found the love of her life. She let go of all this clutter, physical clutter and body clutter, so she lost a lot of weight.
Wow, body clutter.
Yeah, body clutter. And
Yeah.
I followed her, and what I learned from her was how to get dinner on the table, how to keep my house clean, because I would do laundry, we would make the beds, I would clean on a schedule, but I could not get rid of the clutter. And she had this thing called the 27 boogie fling or something like that. I couldn't do it. You were supposed to go around for 15 minutes and collect 27 things to throw away. I wasn't in a headspace where I could do that.
Wow.
I mean, literally, I would go around and I had trash, but did I feel like it was trash? No.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to be in a mind space to look at your things and realize this is just stuff. All
Wow.
these things are just stuff. And until I started, I was trying to do it for my family because I realized we had too much stuff in our house. And until I realized that if I didn't do it for me first, I couldn't do it. And once I decided I'm tired of living with all this stuff in my house. And when I started doing it for me, I became a person who cleaned regularly. I became a person who threw items away regularly or donated them because it was coming from me. It was for me. It wasn't for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think until you get to the point where you want to make the change for yourself, it's really hard to do it for other people.
It becomes a mindset, right?
Yes.
It is a
And you
mindset,
really
yes.
shouldn't throw away people's stuff
Thank you.
that belong to them.
That was
You really
a
shouldn't.
trigger moment for me. That's why that thank you came out so hard. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can
need
throw away your stuff, but you need to stay in your own lane.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
even your kids, you need to respect them because sometimes they have very strong emotional attachments to things that you think that's broken. Why are they keeping that? But they
Mhm.
may, they may
They
really
have
want
their
to
own
keep that.
reasoning, and they should be allowed to have that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys did a
Make
book.
those decisions.
You wrote a book?
Yes.
Why, yes. Yes, we did. As a matter of fact, it's available on Amazon. It's
Tell
called
us
Speed
about
Decluttering.
Speed Decluttering. What is that about, Julie? And you did perfect. You held it there in the right amount of time for our viewers. You had to take a screenshot. You should have got it. Yes. Tell us about the book.
Well, we came up with Speed Decluttering as just, it's like, if you can gamify something, a task, it makes it easier. And so then we started looking at doing these small doable doses because a lot of people say, I just don't have time. Everybody has 1 minute. Everybody has 1 minute. And so we came up with some different things that you can do anywhere from 1 to 12 minutes. You can have races, you can do games, but it helps you to make fast decisions. So what this is doing is it's changing your mindset so that you can go through things quickly. Take 1 to 2 seconds to make a decision. Keep or toss. And so, and like Janis said, when you come across sentimental items, set them aside because you end up stuck in that sentiment and the emotion of it. So it really helps to have your timers. And if you, especially if you have kids, gamifying decluttering is awesome. And, you know, one thing I was never taught as a child was how to clean my room. Nobody ever walked through cleaning my room with me. I don't remember that ever happening. My sister would get mad at me, but because she was so clean. But that is something too, is that as you're doing this and you can gamify some things, you're also teaching your children how to do this. And that's an important step to be a successful adult, is to know how to take care of yourself, which
Yeah.
includes cleaning your areas.
I'm glad you said that about gamifying because, excuse me, I've noticed that a lot of coaches may do some gaming type activities, or when they're doing a task or they have a task for you to do, I should say, and you go through, when you finish, you get this big celebration of confetti and all of
Yeah,
that. And so
right.
that is some kind of way makes you feel like you won, or
Yes.
Exactly.
yeah. And so I
Exactly.
get that now. I didn't used to get that before. I don't know if
Yeah.
my audience did before. Maybe someone had a revelation like I did, but when you said that, it was like, now I get it. That makes a lot of sense to do it that way. So
Right. I
that's
mean,
pretty good. Pretty good.
a
So
lot of us have TV that, you know, we stream the TV, and
yeah.
some of the channels that they stream have
Little
commercials.
timers.
So
Mhm.
Yeah.
when they do commercial, what I've been noticing is they actually have the timer at the top of the screen. So you know how
Yes.
long that space is. And
Yes.
it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be 2 minutes. I've got 2 minutes. I can do things. I've gone in and started unloading the dishwasher.
Mhm.
You know, just all kinds of things that you can do in that 2 minutes. You can organize a drawer, just grab the trash that's around you and get rid of that. And so you can, if you start being aware of where your time is sitting, do you need to sit
Mhm.
there and wait for 2 minutes and watch whatever this is they want to sell you until your show comes back on? Or get up, move around, because movement is important. You have to keep moving. And we know that as we age, you got to keep moving.
Of a
So,
certain age, right?
as those of us of a certain age,
So listen, I am having such a great time with you guys. I want to ask you, because I asked you each a question I want you to share with the audience.
mhm.
If this was a master class, I asked the both of you to give me a title of if this was a master class. And I have to tell you, both of your titles just blew me away. I thought it was the funniest thing. Janice said, excess baggage, decluttering after a breakup. What made you come up with the excessive baggage? I like that.
So the X, okay, when you're in
The
a
X,
relationship, the X,
excessive
EX,
dash.
says,
Yeah.
yes, dash says baggage. Because, everyone talks about your relationships as being baggage, right? You're coming into a relationship with baggage from your former relationship. So the X says baggage. It hit me as funny. And, it doesn't need to be a divorce. People break, my daughter's going through a breakup right now. And it just
Aw.
made me think that, you need to sort through finances, you need to sort through belongings, you need to sort through all sorts of different things, and you need to get rid of things that you're not going to need. Don't just bring it all home. Declutter thoughtfully and do it with intention.
Yes,
Right.
I like that. I really do like that. The way that you put that, even the excesses, little dash, the X, get out of here. And then Julie, you had the triple D.
So
I
it
don't know what
kind
that just sounded like, but anyway, you had divorce, declutter, delete. Divorce, declutter, delete. Talk a little bit about your
it
title.
kind of reminds me of Control Alt Delete. restart, so declutter, divorce, declutter, delete, restart.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a
Yeah.
metaphor right there. Okay.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I knew that it came from somewhere. Somewhere up there, just like I was like, I wonder if I was wondering if you took it from Control Alt Delete, because
Yep.
the control, right? You feel like you've lost it when you're going through divorce. And I
Yeah.
think decluttering is a way for you to gain that back, some of that
Correct.
control, some of that ownership of what is going on with you. Because I think when you get into a space of divorce and you start navigating these chapters that you have no idea life is giving you, because most people do not in their mind get married to get divorced. Like, you plan your wedding,
Right.
but you don't plan for the most part your divorce at the same time that you're planning your wedding. Now, in the
Right.
event that we get divorced, you know, that's not something that most people have a conversation about, because I know for me, that wasn't what was on my mind. I was married for over 20 years, 22 years. And I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking more about, what are we going to do when these kids get out of here? Where are we going to travel to? What kind of
Right.
friends are we going to have at that point? Are we going to still live in a house, or are we going to downsize? Those were the thoughts that I had. So when I got broadsided, T-boned, whatever you want to call it, with this whole divorce situation, I was in that space of confusion of, what am I supposed to do with all this stuff? How am I supposed to not, get rid of it, but hold on to it, but I gotta let it go. So I was in that dilemma there. The tricks and strategies that you all have talked about today, I hope has helped to put people in such a different mindset. And I love the excessive Janice for that reason. I really do. Because, a lot of times people would joke, before. I've heard a lot of people say, well, I've lost 185 pounds.
Yep.
And you
Yep.
Yeah.
literally think they meant
Yep.
themselves. And you was
No,
like,
they
how
meant
did
the
you
other
do that?
person.
I got a divorce, you know.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So that excessive, that really does help to kind of wrap all of that up. Ladies, I love to give my guests the last word. So Janice, I'm going to start with you. Give us your final thoughts on helping divorced individuals, especially the 50 plus, because we've accumulated so much over the
Yeah.
decades.
Right.
Oh, in 30 seconds, can you tell us one of the key factors of decluttering?
Well, you should look at decluttering as self-care, because you're doing it to build your new life. And so keep what you really love and gift or get rid of the things that are the excess baggage.
Right. Right.
All right, that sounds really, really
Absolutely.
good. That's a great tip. Julie, what about you?
Well, I think it's really important to do small, doable doses. Don't, you know, do these little snippets. You don't have to spend an entire weekend pulling your hair out, going through all this stuff, because, you got to get it out. It's okay to take your time and work through it to keep yourself, as Janice said, to keep you emotionally good.
Mhm.
It's really important that you get your power back. So you are divorced, you are pulling your power back into you, which means that makes you stronger to let go of things. So,
Mhm.
um, things that are triggering, things that, the two of you are arguing about, I try to remind myself when I'm doing my decluttering that, you know what? I did not live in New Orleans when Hurricane Katrina came through. Had I lived there, I would have lost everything, including the house. Everything would be gone.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty fortunate that I still have this, but do I still need it, or can somebody else use it? And so I always
Yeah.
try to keep that in the back of my mind, um, because there's all kinds of different situations out there. And I have seen people that have going through divorce that have been helping people that are just getting like off the streets and into an apartment. And so it's like, you know what, I'm going through divorce. I don't need this desk and chair. And so that has been a way to take something that you feel about and make it a positive, loving, contributing thing. So
Absolutely.
that's, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we have talked about decluttering being freeing and self-care, and for sure powerful for you in your life. Everybody, I will have their contact information available in the description box in below this audio if you're listening. And I just want to thank you guys for being here with me with the Wisdom to Win podcast today. Hey, I love you to life and on purpose. And I want you to walk in your purpose and love yourself so that you can have the wisdom to win. And let's win this thing together. Bye for now.
That's awesome. Great.